Well, in our last lesson, we saw how God got the attention of the people. I mean, wow, the mountain was shaking. The mountain was smoking. 有冒烟. There was lightning and 闪电 and thunder, 雷声啊. So they got the attention, 令人注意. I mean, I'm sure that if I was there, I would be paying attention too. Well, now we continue. They're at the mountain and God is going to speak, but before he actually speaks, we're going to be a little philosophical, and today is lesson 54, the basis for obedience. 这个听从的基础. Number 54, stay by for another interesting lesson.
Number 54, the basis for obedience. We've been following the ancient tale that tells the story of how Moses led the people out of Egypt. We've also seen that they complained a lot. They did want to leave their lives of slavery and find freedom, but they were not sure where they were going or whether they would survive. So they needed to be convinced that they were being led properly and that what Moses told them was for their own good. They needed some rules. So at Mount Sinai, heaven shocked them into paying attention. Then Moses gave them the rules from God that we call today the 10 Commandments. The people said, "Yes, everything God tells us we will obey." It's good to agree to do what is right, but sadly these people were not really telling the truth. You can agree to anything if you are afraid. But when the fear goes, so does your agreement. Moses went up the mountain and took longer than expected. So the people forgot about what they had agreed to and had an idol made. They bowed down and worshipped this idol instead of doing what they had been told. They didn't worship the God who had led them out of Egypt, but one of the Egyptian false gods. They broke the rules because they didn't feel afraid anymore. When Moses came back down and saw what they were doing, he became very upset. They had already broken their promise and were doing things they knew were wrong. They were not sincere when they said, "Everything God tells us we will obey." And we make promises. We say we will follow the rules, but our basis for obedience may be wrong. We may be only afraid of punishment, or maybe we just want the reward. The best reason for following rules like the 10 Commandments is because they are good for everybody.
Okay, we've been following the ancient tale that tells the story of how Moses led the people out of Egypt. Ancient tale is this old book that Christians call the Bible, 圣经, and it has lots and lots of stories, and we're just slowly working our way through this. Now, the stories we're talking about now 是关于摩西怎么带领希伯来人出埃及. Okay, so this is the story. We've been following. What does it mean to follow? 跟从. Okay, it means that we have been telling the story and we have been listening to the story that tells the story about how Moses led 带这个百姓出埃及. So that's where we are right now. We've also seen that they complained a lot. By the way, there's going to be some more before we're done, so don't think that we're finished. As a very, in fact, if I were to explain their experience during this time in history, 这个历史上他们的经验, it's downs and ups and downs and ups. This is sometimes things went very well, some things went very, very, very bad. So, what can you say? We've also seen that they complained, 常常抱怨, okay? They did want to leave their lives of slavery and find freedom. I think that this needs to be very, very clear. 他们真的是想要离开埃及，他们要得到自由，他们不要再做这个奴隶。They did want this change, but they were not so sure, not sure where they were going or whether they would survive. They were not sure, 没办法完全确信 where they were going. They didn't know where they were going. And they didn't know whether 是否他们会生存下去, especially out in the wild desert. I mean, a desert is not a happy place to be, not for 1 million people. Now, keep in mind though, God is leading them. And they wanted food, God gave them food. They wanted water, God gave them water. So things are not all that bad. Okay. But they complained a lot. 常常抱怨. Survive, 生存. Just in case you want to know what survive means. Okay, going on. Yes. So they needed to be convinced that they were being led properly. Okay. So they needed to be, 他们必须被说服, convinced. When you try to convince someone, oh, I needed to convince my wife. 我要说服我的太太. Okay? They needed to be convinced that they were being led properly. 他们是被带领的，都是非常正确的，是好的了。And they needed to know that Moses, what he told them was for their own good. 他们必须了解摩西所跟他们所说的话是对他们是有好处 for their own good, 对他们有利 for their own good. Okay, in this case, they needed some rules. Hey, listen, every country in the world has rules. 每一个国家都有他自己的法律 Their laws. Okay? So, everybody has laws, right? So, we need rules. Now, countries, 国家 needs rules. Homes need rules. 家庭也需要一些规则. So, at Mount Sinai, 在西乃山 heaven shocked them. Okay? What does it mean to heaven? 这个天庭那就是神天庭就震动他们令他们注意 So, this is a shocking experience. This is an experience that got everybody's attention. Remember in the last lesson or 2 lessons ago, we said there were no more chatting. 他们不聊天 Of course, you don't 聊天 when the whole mountain is shaking. No, you can't do that. So, they started to pay attention. Then Moses gave them the rules from God, 从上帝来的一些规则啊。We call them today Ten Commandments. 这个十条诫命，十条诫命。Or some people shorten and say 十诫. Okay, these are 10 rules. Now, I think we're going to be looking at some of these rules, but for now, let's continue on to the next slide. And you see, they needed to be convinced that Moses was leading them, okay? And these are the 10 commandments. Now, going on, the people said, yes, everything that God says, tells us, we will obey. Of course, you know, when the mountain is shaking and there's smoke up there and you see lightning and you hear the thunder and you say, oh yeah, we will obey. Okay. It is good to agree to what is right. Of course, if it's right, 如果是对的，我们一定要同意。But sadly, these people were not really telling the truth. 他们不是讲的真的话。Okay? You see, you can agree to anything when you're afraid. 当你害怕的时候，不管是什么东西，当你发抖的时候，你都会同意。That's true. When you're afraid, you can agree to anything. But keep in mind, when the fear goes, so does your agreement. 当他们不再害怕的时候，你的承诺，这没了。It goes too. It no longer, you don't even think about your promise, your agreement, because you are afraid. So now we're going to stop for a minute, and we're going to look at light on your path. So stay by, because we have more coming. Now for some light on our path. Well, Lena, we're going to go to the New Testament, to the book of James. James 4, just the last part of verse 2, and then all of verse 3. James 4, 2 and 3.
雅各书的第4章第2节的后半部分和第3节。
Here's what it says. Yet you do not have what you want, because you don't ask God for it. And even when you ask, you do not get it because your motives are all wrong. You want only what will give you pleasure.
圣经说，你们得不着，是因为你们不求；你们求也得不着，是因为你们妄求，要浪费在你们的宴乐中。
Okay, here is an interesting thing. Two things. First of all, they didn't ask. And then the second one, when they ask, they had the wrong motives. 他们的动机是不对的。So now here's a question for you. Is it possible to do the right thing, do good, but for the wrong reasons?
对，很多时候其实是会这样子的，我们的动机意念不是很好的，可是我们做出来的时候呢，看起来好像是很好的，但是艾老师，我想问，最后的结局会是怎么样的呢？
Well, if in the 过程，动机是不好的，这个还不错，我认为是还不错。But eventually we must recognize that our motives were wrong, and then we adjust. 我们调整我们的动机啊。
哦，就是在过程中我们可以改正的。
Yeah, of course.
明白。
Well, that's about all the time we have for Light on Our Path. So, we were talking about here, you are afraid, you make a promise, 有一个承诺. But when the fear goes, 当你不再害怕的时候，你的承诺，就忘记. Moses went up to the mountain, and he took longer than expected. Okay? Moses went up to the mountain and took longer than expected. 人们所预期的还要长. They didn't expect that Moses would stay up on the mountain that long. So some of the people forgot about what they had agreed to do. Okay? So some people 就忘记刚才他们所同意要做的事，他们的承诺. Remember what their 承诺 says? All that the Lord says we will do. 神所说的话，我们都愿意做. Okay? And so what did they do? It says they had an idol made. 他们就请人家帮忙他们做一个偶像. Oops! Now they got a problem going on. They bowed down and worshiped the idol. They bowed down and worshiped the idol. Okay? 这拜那个偶像. Instead of 而不愿意做他们刚才所说的话. Okay? So, they didn't worship the God who had led them out of Egypt. They did not worship the God. It was God that led them out of Egypt. Sure, it was God that led them out of Egypt. But now they are going to worship the Egyptian gods, these Egyptian false gods. So, whoops, they've got a problem. They broke the rules because they didn't feel afraid anymore. Right? Now, I think this is very important because there are sometimes the title of our lesson is the basis for obedience, 听从, 顺从的基础. Okay, they broke the rules because they didn't feel afraid anymore. 他们不再惧怕. So they said, well, Moses is gone. We don't know what happened to Moses, and the mountain isn't shaking. Okay, we can do whatever we want to. Now, let's just think about this. When Moses came back and saw what they were doing, he became very upset. Yeah, when Moses came back down, he saw what they were doing. He became very upset. 非常非常. Okay, what does the upset means? Okay, you can say it has many meanings. In this case, I would say he became very upset is probably very 生气, very mad at them. They had already broken their promise. 已经不守他们的诺言了，他们的承诺. Okay? They were doing things that they knew were wrong. 他们所做的呢，他们 I would say very clearly understood, 很清楚知道他们所做的是错的. But remember, what's the reason? No longer afraid, so they are willing to do it. And there's an important lesson very important lesson in that we should all know. They were not 诚心 sincere. They were not true. They were not being real. In other words, they were actually telling a lie. They didn't know it because they had said, everything that God says we will obey. You can imagine the mountain is shaking, the smoke is coming out of the mountain, 有闪电，有打雷, sure, they were scared, so they said, everything that God says we will obey. See, they were not sincere. They didn't know this, though, because they were afraid. Now, notice this. Sometimes we make promises. 我们有些承诺，我们答应人家了。And we say we will follow the rules. Okay, just like driving a car, and you're driving along, okay? Now, you say, well, sure, I'm going to follow the rules. But our basis for obedience may be wrong. 看不到警察，我想开快车. Okay? I'm going to drive fast because I don't see a policeman. Now, we don't see the policeman, so 我们的遵守这个法律的基础是错的, okay? But our basis for our obedience may be wrong. We may be afraid of punishment. Of course, we're afraid that the policeman will catch us and 我们会罚款, okay? Or another reason we do what we do, we promise 我们有些承诺 because we hope to get a reward, 得到益处，有利, okay? So, rewards and punishments. Rewards, punishments. Bad reasons for doing something. Going on to the last sentence. The best reason for following the rules. 守这些规则，守这个法律 like the Ten Commandments, 十条诫命 is because they are good for everyone. 因为他们对人们都有好处. Do right because it is the right thing to do. Okay, now we need to check out some words that you need to know. Now for words you need to know. To begin with, Lena, let's take a look at survive.
生存
生存, to survive something is to 生存. And then the next one is the Ten Commandments.
十诫，也有人称十条诫命，是不是？
Right. These are God's 10 rules. And that's what we're talking about in this lesson. The next one is agreement.
是承诺、协议。
Okay. In this use, the word agreement sometimes could even be 一个合同.
合同，对。
But in here, in today's lesson, agreement is 承诺. Very good. The next one is to break the rules.
违反规则。
To break the rules. Now, Lena, every home has their own rules.
对对
So you are a mother and you have certain rules.
对，家里面有家里面的规矩。
Yep. And then, of course, society has rules. 这个社会也有规矩。So if you break the rules, what happens? 违反规矩，违反规则。
违反规则之后要受惩罚咯。
Yes, that's right. And that's the next one. Punishment. Can you say that?
Punishment.
Yeah, punishment. Don't forget the
哦，
t.
对对。Punishment.
Ah, very good. Punishment is 惩罚. Well, I wish we had more time, but that's all the time we have for words you need to know. Well, we have been looking at the basis for obedience. And the people promised God, yes, God, everything you say, I will do. But the reason they said that is because they were afraid. 他们非常非常害怕. So, we ended up the lesson by saying that sometimes we do things for the wrong reasons. Okay, maybe for rewards, 得到益处，得到好处. Or sometimes because we're 怕惩罚, punishment. Anyway, we're going to look at the commandments from heaven. 真正的那些十条诫命是什么? Stay by, because our next lesson will actually look at the most famous rules of all time. Looking forward to seeing you at that time.
That's all for today, and thanks for watching. If you like Ancient Tales for Today, please visit atft.chinesehope.tv. You may also contact us by writing to ancienttalesfortoday@gmail.com. Again, that's ancienttalesfortoday@gmail.com. Tell your friends about Ancient Tales for Today. See you next time.